See, for me, Google's Pixel flagship phones are kind of like a glass of Cristal that you just paid 30 quid for in some key New York bar. Everyone's banging on about how amazing it is, but you try it and you're like, is that it? I just paid 30 quid for this, and frankly, I'd rather have a 4 quid bottle of Plonk from Aldi. Actually, no, that's a terrible analogy. Fuck all, this is rubbish. So I reviewed the new Pixel 4 smartphone a full month ago, and despite that awesome size and fresh Android 10 OS, it is impossible to recommend, basically because of the steep price, the awful battery life, and the really strong competition from rival Androids. So I thought I'd hang back a bit with the Pixel 4 XL and come back to it with a fresh mind 1 month later. I've been using it as my full-time personal handset for just under a week now, and here is my in-depth review. And for more on the latest and greatest mobile tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now, one of the most lovable aspects of the standard Pixel 4 smartphone was its dinky, easy to use with one hand form factor. It was small and it was certainly satisfying. Of course, the Pixel 4 XL loses that charming little trait and is basically as big as every other blower out there right now. Actually, 6.3 inches is pretty modest as far as modern smartphones go, but then you do get these chunky bezels surrounding that display to bulk it up a bit. So one-handed use is unfortunately rather tricky, despite the fact you've got the occasional little feature to help out, like the ability to drag down that notifications bar from anywhere on your desktops. Google's redesign seems to be very much love it or hate it for this generation. Personally, I think it's charming in many regards, and that chunky finish is certainly distinctive, if not particularly refined. The Pixel 4 XL doesn't look like a kid's toy, at least, like the latest round of iPhones do, but it also does lack the sex factor of other premium handsets, especially this rather dull black model. Although at least that dark finish does a reasonably good job of hiding the greasy prints that inevitably coat the surface mere seconds after you pick it up and start fondling it. And touch wood, that Gorilla Glass 5 plate in front and back seems to be doing its job. A full month on, no signs of any scratches, dents, chips, or any other little scars to mention. So basically, as long as you don't want any frills or fanciness, then it's all good. On the hardware front, one of the highlights here is definitely that spacious 6.3-inch OLED panel. To keep things crisp despite the size boost, Google has upgraded the resolution to Quad HD+, and boy does video look absolutely stunning. There's no notch to intrude on the action, so it's a proper full view experience with impeccable detail and full HDR support when you're streaming via the likes of Netflix. Plus, of course, this is one of very few smartphones to support a bit of 90Hz refresh rate action as well, so you'd be absolutely gliding through your desktop's menus, everything else. Even Barry White would say, damn, that's smooth. On the adaptive colour setting, these hues get a pleasing boost in brightness and vibrancy when desired. Good news if you're an anime fan, as those visuals really do pop. The stereo speaker setup definitely gets my love still as well. Yeah, it's a little bit tinny on that top volume level, fair enough, but the power is pretty impressive indeed. Sadly, you don't get a headphone jack anywhere on there, so it's basically Bluetooth or dongle for your headphones. Thankfully, the Bluetooth connectivity is absolutely fine, no troubles with the stability there, even in busy London areas. And this is still one of the very few Android phones to actually serve up the latest version of Google's OS, which means that lush dark mode can be yours, although not all Google apps support it just yet for whatever reason. Unfortunately, like on the Pixel 4, most of the Pixel 4 XL's special bonus features aren't really for the average Joe. The likes of the sonar tech and that real-time transcription, definitely very impressive indeed, but is it actually much use in real life? Not really. For instance, the sonar stuff means that your phone wakes up a split second earlier than other handsets as you're reaching for it basically, rather than as you're actually picking it up. But the only time I really notice this is when the Pixel mistakenly unlocks itself because I've vaguely gesticulated in its direction. Sure, you can skip tracks in your music player of choice even when it's not front and center, which is pretty cool and occasionally a bit of a time saver as well, but is it a game changer? Not really, to be fair. Of course, the live captions feature is genuinely fantastic for anyone hard of hearing, and it works pretty well as well. Even though mistakes are often made, you can basically understand what is going on. As for the security side of things though, that is a real downer. I was absolutely gutted when Google announced that it was killing off that fingerprint sensor on the back. When I came to slap my SIM inside of the Pixel 4 XL, I was a wee bit worried about using just face recognition as the main means of unlocking this device, especially as it basically crocked itself within just a few days of me using the original Pixel 4. Thankfully, it's been behaving itself here on the XL so far, at least touch wood. It's not the most secure method of unlocking by any means, working even when your eyes are closed, which does at least mean it does the job when you're wearing sunglasses. But on this device, it's basically that or pin entry, unless you want to of course rely on Google's even more ropey smart lock features. That edge sensor tech is back in action on the Pixel 4 XL as well. Just a swift squeeze of the Pixel and the Google Assistant will spring into life. Unfortunately, I kept accidentally triggering the bloody thing every time I tried to wriggle the Pixel 4 XL out of my pocket, which means that now my Google Assistant search history is just a long string of "oh for f***'s sakes." But luckily you can tweak the sensitivity level, so I stuck it on the hard squeeze setting and basically all was well again. But anyway, for a full look at all of the bonus new Pixel 4 and Pixel 4 XL features that you'll find stuffed inside here, go check out my in-depth tips and tricks guide, which is live right now. Now there's not much point in lingering on the performance side of things because the XL model sports the same specs as the standard Pixel 4, namely Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset backed by 6 gigs of RAM. That means that everyday use is a breeze and gaming isn't an issue, as you'd kind of hope from a premium blower. The likes of PUBG Mobile plays on the top detail settings at a dependable 60 frames per second, so you'll definitely have an edge over most of the competition. Now, of course, one of the most contentious bits of the original Pixel 4 smartphone was the dreadful battery life, something that has improved here on the Pixel 4 XL, but only because it's got a much larger 3700 mAh cell. All the same, with quite restrained use, basically occasional email checks, a bit of music streaming, stuff like that, you will only just make it to bedtime on a single charge. Compared with many rivals which can go up to 2 full days with such usage, it really is a massive disappointment. And of course, if you go heavy, really lean on the Pixel 4 XL, then it'll be dead by early evening. But if you're a fan of wireless charging, then some good news there at least, because Google's blower embraces it fully. As always though, Google has absolutely smashed it well out of the park when it comes to the optics. The primary reason for bagging yourself a Google Pixel flagship phone is, as always, the camera tech. It's nice and dependable and capture great looking photos and good looking home movies as well, with absolutely sod all effort on your part. This time around you get a dual lens setup, so the 12.2 megapixel primary lens is backed by a 16 megapixel shooter, and this second lens offers a telephoto perspective for those zoomed in snaps. You get some seriously truly impressive new HDR smarts crammed in there, and of course all of the features that you could ever hope and dream for, including good old night mode. And yes, you can shoot a picture of the stars in the sky if you're willing to bugger off into the middle of nowhere, stand in a field on a clear day with a tripod. But seriously, it's the Pixel's ability to capture good looking photos even of hyperactive Wii subjects that really set it apart from the rest. No matter the conditions, you're pretty much guaranteed a good looking snap. Go check out my full Pixel 4 camera review for a closer look at the features and the photo and video quality. And after all that, basically there is quite a lot to love about the Google Pixel 4 XL, but there's quite a few iffy bits as well, and then you get to the price tag, 829 quid. Ouchies. If you literally go swimming in a vat of coins every morning just like Scrooge McDuck, and your priority is having one of the very best smartphone cameras stashed in your pocket, then the Pixel 4 XL should probably be on your radar. But of course you can grab yourself an Android smartphone with very similar specs and some pretty damn good camera tech for literally hundreds of pounds less, the OnePlus 7T being an obvious option. So here's hoping Google slams out a Pixel 4a and a Pixel 4a XL in 2020 that offers that great dual lens camera tech for a nice affordable mid-range asking price. Fingers crossed. So that's what I think of the Pixel 4 XL after using it as my full-time personal handset for a week now. What do you reckon? Are you still tempted by it? I've got to say the likes of the OnePlus 7T, the Asus Zenfone 6, so many other smartphones that I've reviewed in 2019, definitely take it for me. But that's just what I think. Who am I, just some bald northern git on YouTube? Tell me what you think down in the comments below. It'd be great to hear your thoughts. Please do poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more reviews, the latest and greatest tech. Cheers everyone, love you.